In the olden days, Zambians used local products to build houses, but this has changed due to modernization. However, modernization has also brought problems in regard to climate change. Thank you so much for joining us on today's presentation of News in Depth. My name is Pennipher Nyirenda. Today on the program, we'll be looking at the building of sustainable houses using climate-friendly materials. We'll be talking to various stakeholders on this particular subject. Join me as we discuss modern construction using climate-friendly materials. The climate change debate has taken many dimensions. Amidst all recommendations submitted to protect the environment, the climate change subject has since propelled the agenda of sustainable living for communities around the world. Sustainable living is described as the application of a threefold livelihood whose overall objective is adherence to a social, economic and environmental balance in everyday life. This has been linked to the construction of climate-friendly buildings. This includes the adoption of a sustainable way of life, adhering to climate-friendly principles. Offshoots of sustainable livelihood fundamentals are political will and culture. The construction of climate-friendly infrastructure may seem far-fetched, but this is a subject soon to be a regular feature in Zambia.
We are talking of green, going natural. Build houses that are environmentally friendly. If you, for example, you import most of these tiles, after you disuse them, where do you take them? They become an environmental hazard. You have a challenge. Where do you dispose them?
A key factor in sustainable construction is housing. For Zambia, the shortage of housing infrastructure has resulted in increased construction activities in many parts of the country. The shortage is validated by 2010 statistics. These statistics indicate a housing deficit at 1.3 million units. This figure is projected to grow to 3 million by 2030.
There is a shortage of houses in our country. When we say shortage of houses, it means the population is higher than the houses we are supposed to occupy. There is that deficit. So we are trying to reduce the gap such that time will come when the population, mind you, the population is still going on. So we are going to face a problem where housing is concerned. So ideally is to build more houses. But what type of houses are we supposed to build?
Climate change campaigners have, however, started a new initiative to promote construction of climate-friendly housing units. These are houses designed to protect the environment from the building stage to the maintenance. In this case, natural products that are environmentally friendly are used in the construction of the houses. Building materials should be non-toxic and renewable, recycled, reclaimable. This includes low-impact production materials that have been created and treated in a sustainable fashion.
Zambians tend to rely on building materials that are imported from outside Zambia. And I'm talking now about roof structures, roofings as such also coming from South Africa or China, windows, doors, kitchens, fittings, tiles. And if you really closely analyze that, then you will see that a huge amount of potential jobs that could be created in Zambia by producing those materials are being lost to jobs outside Zambia. Our program is about local value chain development. Building green starts by buying local products, because then your carbon footprint will be a lot less. Instead of importing materials, you buy them locally, materials that are locally produced.
Sustainable living also recommends cautious use of electricity resources without compromising the requirements of the future. In this case, the use of renewable energies in forms such as solar, biomass, geothermal and wind is highly advised.
We use a lot of energy in our houses. I'm sure even you, where you are coming from, your house, maybe security lights are still on. Maybe geysers are still on. Maybe people are using stoves every now and then. But look at the bills from maybe the company that provides electricity. At the end of the month, you are spending so much on energy.
On water, unsustainable use of the commodity is believed to have negative implications. Currently, people around the world use 1/4 of the Earth's total fresh water in natural circulation. However, population growth and increased water demand are raising concern on the ecological use of the resource. It has therefore been seen necessary to use available water more efficiently. This is through encouraging indoor home appliance efficiency, outdoor water use, and daily water use awareness. This also addresses the effective use of appliances around the home, such as taps and washing machines.
Currently, if you look at a water closet or a hand wash basin in your house, you find that it will use close to 10 liters per minute or per use. But we want to say, why can't we use 6 liters per minute of water in terms of sanitation management? So those are energy efficient as well as saving the resource. We don't have abundant water that cannot be wasted anyhow. We want to maximize the utilization of water by using technologies that will restrict wastage. When you open a tap, for example, nowadays you find that you open a tap until when you close it, that's when you stop the water. Why can't we have systems where when you press, you wash your hands? When you don't press, it closes. You save water. Technologies are there, but because of our restrictive specifications sometimes and our policies maybe did not pay attention to those issues to say how do we become economical to sustain our development.
Back to the campaign for sustainability in construction. Here, the boost in construction activities has come with many benefits, but environmentalists are cautioning contractors to integrate conservational issues in containing effects of the sector's fast growth rate.
As the construction sector is growing at a very fast rate, it's better that when you are doing the construction, when you are building, you integrate in environmental issues that will give you green buildings and sustainable infrastructure. And that's why UNEP makes this particular contribution.
On the other hand, concerns have been raised on the large quantities of construction materials being imported. These materials are preferred for their quality tag, but environmentalists argue that these materials pose a risk to the environment.
30-40 years ago, probably everybody was building with local building materials that were locally available, but now there was a sense or an awareness or an attitude that if you want to build quality houses, we can't anymore rely on Zambian products, we have to import them. Well, the capacity is here. You've got great materials here locally available. I'm not only talking about the wood. When wood would be sustainably cultivated, you can have great wooden products here available here in Zambia. I'm talking about windows and doors and kitchens and floorings and ceilings and roof structures and even tiles. We have discovered also in Zambia that the use of the traditional building materials are actually extremely good in quality and in general also cheaper than having the building materials imported.
The National Housing Authority has the mandate of building low-cost housing in affordable packages for the citizenry. The authority is aware and cautious of the fact that 40% of carbon emissions come from buildings with households contributing to that amount. The authority attributes this to materials which are not very environmentally friendly being used in the construction of houses.
The major component of the built environment are houses. And the current statistics show that about 40% to 43% of carbon emissions come from buildings. Now, since the major component is houses or homes, it means NHA then has a key role because we are the only housing regulatory institution in that. And how does this come to play? You will see that a home, for it to be built, you require a lot of materials from everywhere. So as you acquire those materials, you look at how sustainable is the source, and also up to the time you are constructing, how sustainable are the materials and how are they affecting the health of the individuals involved, and generally how are they making the climate more livable. Then lastly, when the house is occupied, it consumes energy. And this consumption of energy is what also emits these carbon gases, which are very dangerous to the environment. And we have seen of late, our climatic pattern has been disturbed because of these carbon emissions.
Contractors too are fully aware of the effect most of these construction materials pose on the environment.
Construction, I'll tell you that even in cement, part of cement we use comes from China. And yet we have cement where we are just sitting here in Chilanga. So why go for something which is coming from very far? Because what is involved in that? Transport costs goes up. So why don't we go for locals? Timber is one of them. Why go very far, import from Malawi, when you have local timber around here, which will reduce on costs? There are so many building materials that we import that are found locally. So one of them is to reduce only the imported materials.
He is also calling on the manufacturers to venture into value addition of the available local construction materials. This is in order for the materials to be of good quality to meet the standards required in the construction sector.
Saying in locals, those who are supposed to add value to the same product, let them come in Zambia and add value to the. Let me take an example of timber. Timber we have locally. We have enough, although we are running out of it. Okay. Now, we have a problem where curing timber is concerned. Because when you use fresh timber, it has that moisture to make up a roof. Once it starts drying up, and you haven't even finished the work, they will start, bending in simpler language. Now, those who are supposed to treat them, it has a process. That addition of that value, you mean it cannot be done locally? It can be done. Pennipher, we have exported a lot of timber, especially maybe from Western and the Eastern province. I'll tell you that when it goes to China, it comes in form of, beds, furniture, whatever. When you look at it, you would think that timber came from China. And yet it is your own timber.
Technical experts handling housing and infrastructure development matters have already started drafting the policies to govern Zambia's clean housing building program. Meetings have been held to validate draft sustainable housing guidelines and policies. 2 years ago, the United Nations Environment Programme started this policy formulation process.
You need to have operational policies, updated policies that integrate sustainable issues. And UNEP, by its technical capacity and expertise, and also its mandate as an environmental agency, we are the ones implementing the component for policy review, regulatory review, and also formulating sustainable housing guidelines for Zambia, because Zambia does not have such a guidelines.
5 UN agencies are still in the forefront of providing technical assistance to help Zambia implement this new concept of building green.
This Zambia Green Jobs Program is a program between the government of the Republic of Zambia and 5 UN agencies. And each of the agencies involved depending on its comparative advantage. The United Nations Development Program is the global agency responsible for environment. And we have had a number of programs including green economy, sustainable consumption and production, and also formulation of policies and helping countries on regulations and environmental governance so that they can streamline environmental management and environmental issues in their programs.
The interactions between the Zambian government and the UN agencies are targeted at building the capacity of players in the construction value chain.
As the United Nations, we are providing technical assistance to the government, the different governments that have a stake in building and construction. We also are trying to organize dialogue between different stakeholders in the value chain of building and construction that would otherwise would face difficulties to sitting at the same table.
The Zambian government has already committed to the success of the implementation of the Clean Housing Project, with a pledge to finalizing the policy formulation process.
We want people to look at using the natural resources, the natural materials that we have. Minimize the utilization of power that it demands to run a turbine in Kafue River, when we can use solar locally. Our houses, if you go to most of these houses, we have plenty of sunlight in our country, but our houses depend on ZESCO power, which is generated from Kariba. Even wind, there are certain places which are open plains. There's a lot of wind that we can maximize and use power generated from those wind. Okay, so what we are trying to look at is that our houses, how can we change the building standards, the policy in terms of building houses.
Beyond climate change, the climate-friendly housing initiative has been seen as an opportunity for the creation of green jobs in countries where it has been adopted. Green jobs are believed to be cardinal in overall sustainable development as they respond to the global challenges of environmental protection, economic development, and social inclusion. Through interactions with governments, workers, and employers, the International Labour Organization has been championing the greening of enterprises and workplace practices. The UN agency believes that greening through construction of houses will be a good base for the creation of decent jobs.
You will see that Zambians tend to rely on building materials that are imported from outside Zambia. And I'm talking now about roof structures, roofings as such also coming from South Africa or China, windows, doors, kitchens, fittings, tiles. And if you really closely analyze that, then you will see that a huge amount of potential jobs that could be created in Zambia by producing those materials are being lost to jobs outside Zambia. Our program is about local value chain development. Building green starts buying local products.
The job creation element in the greening process is a priority for the Zambian government in its quest to enhance job creation from all avenues.
Green jobs. Maybe let me just summarize it to say green jobs simply means let's use our local natural resources to create employment. Okay?
And opportunities are there.
A lot of them. A lot of them. It's not only block molding that is creating employment. Clay molding is a lot of source of employment, and it would be cheaper because you won't buy the clay. You will need to buy cement. But are you going to buy the clay? No, you won't.
The UN Environment Programme, however, believes that accomplishments in this project can only be made with full citizen participation.
There is a global trend towards green building and construction, which is driven by several factors. First of all, the economic factor, your social factor, and your environmental factor. Environmentally, it's because we have to change our ways of dealing with natural resources. We can't continue as we are doing because we just don't have enough resources.
Cement, everyone cannot afford cement. During the time when you and me were growing up, anthills had a lot of value to our communities. But because of the wave of deforestation, we can't burn those bricks to build houses. But even without burning those bricks, if we mold those bricks and build houses, plaster them, traditional methods of plastering, you find that those houses will look more durable and more reusable. When you demolish this house, the material can be just spread on earth. And you find that we don't have a challenge of waste.
A shift in culture to revert to old practices embracing Zambian products is being advocated.
If we go green, we are talking of green, going natural. Build houses that are environmentally friendly. If you, for example, you import most of these tiles, after you disuse them, where do you take them? They become an environmental hazard. You have a challenge, where do you dispose them? But if you use clay bricks, for example, cement, everyone cannot afford cement. During the time when you and me were growing up, anthills had a lot of value to our communities. But because of the wave of deforestation, we can't burn those bricks to build houses. But even without burning those bricks, if we mold those bricks and build houses, plaster them, traditional methods of plastering, you find that those houses will look more durable and more reusable. When you demolish this house, the material can be just spread on earth. And you find that we don't have a challenge of waste.
Much more sensitization is being advised to make this initiative flourish.
That by sensitizing the public, talking to people, and changing the policies that we have currently. You may know that most of our policies, they are a little bit outdated, but if we improve on them or revise them, they will be current and will sensitize the public. I mean, in the media, you play a very key role to communicate to our people. Even a person who may want to build, if he is informed that you can buy natural materials or local materials at such a place, it is easy. Instead of him importing, they will use local materials.
But the UN says the utilization of natural resources like wood for climate-friendly housing construction ought to be done cautiously. This is in order to preserve the country's forestry resources, unlike the current excessive cutting down of trees for charcoal usage.
Greenhousing is more than building a greenhouse. It's such a complex systemic problem that we are facing with so many aspects. We are not only talking about forestry, policy guidelines, access to finance for contractors, availability of technologies, attitudes and mindsets of people towards this. And the forestry sector is one of those elements that, of course, we believe in the fact that when we want to go green and use wood as a key input, we also have to change our practices. Now wood already is being depleted in Zambia, and it's not to build houses, it's to cook. The majority of Zambians still rely on charcoal to cook. Charcoal which probably is illegally harvested or... So the forestry sector, we are working now with the forestry department and the big business associations in the forestry sector on achieving a certain level of due diligence in the forestry sector.
The Ministry of Local Government and Housing says municipal planning associated with land use will also be adjusted to climate-friendly pattern.
And town planning, which the bill is under Parliament now, that one will promote mixed land use, where we shouldn't have Charleston just a residential area and the town where the shops should be. We should allow mixed land use so that we reduce the congestion that we are experiencing today. Services should go closer to where the people stay. You may notice that our previous laws restricted residential areas and town and the shop areas. You notice that. But is that how we want to live? No. Now we have taken malls closer to the people so that people don't scramble to go to town. Things should go closer to them.
The National Housing Authority has affirmed commitment to building environmentally friendly homes in future projects, with affirmation that old ones will be modified.
So as NHA, we have come to be part of this green jobs or sustainable housing guidelines review policy, because we want as an institution to look at how current houses can be modified to be more energy efficient. That is, consume less energy or embrace the use of clean energy. Clean as in clean sources of power, clean ways of heating the house and clean ways of heating the house. Because even air cons are not environmentally friendly.
Contractors too are being advised to rise to the occasion in embracing this new form of construction.
When there is change, let us first of all look at it. Is it good for you, who is a contractor? Is it good for the public also? The interest which should come first is the public. Are the Zambians going to benefit from this? So if green construction is saying, let us reduce on the way we use energy, so that the public can at least remain with some money in their pockets after, those huge bills. Who am I as a contractor not also to follow it?
The contractors are nonetheless calling on government to make this project work.
Government comes number one. There are policies that should be followed. When you say housing, there are policies that are enacted there. Now, why should we stick to the policies of 1930? Things change. Kaondes, they say, bintu bikingia mwisho. So we are supposed to adapt change. Where are we supposed to make changes so that we can also fit in green construction? So those are the policies now we are trying to look at so that if there is need for change here and there, it should be recommended to government that this is what we came up with. If we are to achieve the target, let us change certain policies which were put in place in 1930.
There are many elements in building a sustainable Zambian society and the world at large. The threats of climate change on the globe call for equal efforts from both the developed and developing countries. This is why initiatives such as the construction of climate-friendly houses with matching home maintenance applications that are renewable in nature need to be a regular feature worldwide to make the cause meaningful. Thank you so much for watching today's presentation of News in Depth. This is where we end today's program. We were looking at the sustainable construction of housing units, particularly looking at climate-friendly projects. Here is where we end the program. I'd like to urge you to join us next week at the very same time. From me, Pennipher Sikainda-Nyirenda, it's goodbye and God bless you.